The 2025 draft is officially over, which means I can now give a total draft grade to each NFL team. I'm going to be doing this via a tier list. So here we go. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. They're going to be the first team getting a grade. I graded the first rounds, but now we're doing the entire classes. So I am very excited for this one. We are going to be looking here at the NFL.com picks here to remind everybody of who each team selected. So the Cardinals, they got Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, Jordan Birch, and some other players. They gave them an A minus, and I think the Cardinals, that doesn't do them quite as much justice. They at least should be an A. I think that or an A. I'm sorry. They should be an A. The Cardinals absolutely smashed the draft. They got Walter Nolan, who was a great defensive tackle, and they got Will Johnson, who was a projected first-round pick. I know the medical issues may scare some teams, but hey, they got two first-round talents in the first and second round. So can you really give them anything less than an A? Cardinals fans should be ecstatic. As far as the Atlanta Falcons go, they had a fantastic draft, getting Jalon Walker, James Pierce Jr., and Xavier Watts. I don't even need to look at the other page here, but we will for your sakes. They only got 5 players. They also got Billy Bowman Jr. and Jack Nelson. They had a fantastic draft. For only getting 5 players, my goodness, did they fix a lot of problems with that team. Their defense is going to be a little bit scarier next season. I do not love the trade, giving up next year's first-round pick, but I don't think anything less than an A- is fair, considering they basically fixed their entire pass rushing issue in one draft. So good for the Atlanta Falcons there. They got the guys they wanted, and Jalon Walker could be the best player in the draft, so you can't really fault them for that. Let's move this microphone a little bit down so you can see my beautiful face. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens, baby. The Baltimore Ravens. Let's go ahead and check out who they took. So they got a ton of players in this draft. Malachi Starks, Mike Green, Emory Jones Jr., Teddy Buchanan, Carson Vincent, and a bunch of other players, including LeJohntay Webster, the CU guy. He was very good last season for CU, in my opinion. Okay, let's keep it simple. You got Mike Green. You got Malachi Starks. What more do I need to say other than A+? Ravens are our first A+ grade. They got 2 of the best players in the entire draft. People consider Malachi Starks one of the best secondary players in the draft, and Mike Green a top 3 edge in the draft. So fantastic draft for the Baltimore Ravens. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills. This is a team that Bills fans, you guys are going to have to let me know if you liked your draft or not, because Maxwell Hairston, I'm not super familiar with. Landon Jackson, not super familiar with. Deion Walker, I'm not super familiar with. However, TJ Sanders, I know, is a fantastic player, and as a Patriots fan, I really did want him. I'm okay with putting the Bills in B tier. From what I've seen from at least Bills Mafia, they seem to like their picks, maybe not love their picks. I think a lot of Bills fans would have rather had Benjamin Morrison, but Maxwell Hairston seems like an awesome kid, great character, so good pick for the Buffalo Bills, at least from a culture standpoint. Next, the Carolina Panthers. I see a lot of Panthers fans saying that they had an A+ draft and that they're ready to compete in the playoffs. I'm sorry. Pump the brakes a little bit. We have no idea if Ted McMillan's going to be good. He doesn't exactly fit the mold of a receiver that is in the class of Hall of Fame level type receivers based on his build and weight. So I know that made no sense. There's a little thing that my buddies filled out grading wide receivers. We'll put it on the screen here. You tell me which group of receivers you want, and Ted McMillan does not fall in the group of receivers that you would pick first. So with that being said, done with my rambling. The Panthers did have a good draft outside of Ted McMillan, which was a good pick. They also got Nick Scorton, fantastic pick, and Princely there. Trevor Etienne also is a fun pick, and Jimmy Horn Jr. With that being said, the Panthers, I think they deserve A-. We'll put them in the same tier as the Falcons. They had a lot of good players, but I don't like this whole Panthers are ready for the playoffs, so sorry for my tangent, but I had to inform everyone. Next up, the Chicago Bears. So they took Colston Lovely in the first round, probably one of the more shocking picks of the entire first round. Then they got Luther Burden, kind of made up for it, but do they really need a wide receiver? Up for debate. They got Ozzie Trapillo. They got Shamar Turner, fantastic pull. And then they got Zaw Frazier, also a good pick. The Bears had a good draft. I wouldn't say that it was the best draft. With the Colston Loveland pick, I did not like that one, but Luther Burden, that's a great pick, so we'll put that in B tier for the Chicago Bears. I didn't think that they addressed maybe all the needs they needed, but the team is definitely better, so good for you, Poles. Okay, the Cincinnati Bengals up next. So they got Shamar Stewart. Wow, they did not have a lot of draft picks. They got Shamar Stewart, Demetrius Knight Jr., Dylan Fairchild, and a couple other players. So Bengals fans in the first round were not very happy with the Shamar Stewart pick, and then in the second round, they were not very happy with Demetrius Knight Jr. pick because he probably would have been there in the third round, but a lot of Bengals fans are happy with the Dylan Fairchild pick, but the Bengals are going to be probably the lowest on the list so far at a C+. I think Shamar Stewart is a good prospect. He's a good prospect. He's not the best prospect. Would I have taken him at that pick? Probably not. But I'm not a GM, so who am I to tell the Bengals who they should and shouldn't draft? Demetrius Knight is also good, but in the second round, goodness gracious. Okay, the Cleveland Browns. There is a lot to unpack here. They took Mason Graham, Carson Schwestinger, Quinshawn Judkins, Harold Fannin Jr., Dylan Gabriel, Dylan Sampson, and Shedeur Sanders. They took a lot of fun players, a lot of known players. If you've ever played NCAA, you actually know all of these players more likely than not. Shedeur Sanders, fantastic pick. I actually love that pick. Easily the best quarterback on the roster. They have 5 guys. Shedeur is easily the best. Mason Graham, great pick. Carson, great pick. Quinshawn Judkins, fantastic pick. Harold Fannin Jr. is a out-of-the-park home run hit. And then Dylan Gabriel makes absolutely no sense. Dylan Sampson, doesn't hurt to take a flyer out on him. The Browns not really making sense in this draft. They did not take a wide receiver, which was a massive need going into the draft. They didn't fix it in free agency. So with that being said, them not being able to address their needs, them failing to evaluate the quarterback position this offseason, even through the draft. Now you got 5 guys, making it very confusing, but giving yourself a great bid to be on Hard Knocks this season. I will give them a B- because the Harold Fannin Jr. pick, awesome. Mason Graham pick, awesome. They got future first-round picks. You know I'm talking myself into it, B+. Future first-round picks. You got Mason Graham. You got a good linebacker. You got a great tight end to back up David Njoku. Not a position of need, though. And then you got 2 quarterbacks. Not really positions of need either when you get 2 of them. But moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. I pooped on them when they took Tyler Booker in the first round. And Tyler Booker is a good prospect. Again, I wouldn't have taken him in the first round. As you can see, NFL.com has him as a B+ grading there. I think I gave them a D for that, which I think was fair. It was definitely a reach. But then they made up for it with Donovan Uzuraku and Siobhan Revel Jr. They got 2 amazing picks. I don't think they really fixed the running back position, and they didn't take a wide receiver, which was blasphemy. They didn't exactly fill all the positions in need, but I like their O-line picks. At the end of the day, Tyler Booker ended up being a good pick because the skill position or the other positions that they needed to fill were somewhat there. I see the vision for the Cowboys, and I can respect it. With that being said, I think B tier is completely fair because that second round pick, home run, baby. That's a fantastic pull for the Dallas Cowboys. They can finally rest easy knowing they had a decent draft even after a lackluster free agency. Moving on to the Denver Broncos. They smashed the first round getting Jahdae Barron. Then they got RJ Harvey. I think the Broncos kind of missed out on the running backs they wanted since the Patriots took Travion Henderson. The Browns took Quinshawn Judkins, so they settled for RJ Harvey, who is a good running back, but not exactly who I would have taken in the second round if I'm the Broncos. They got Pat Bryant, who seems to be some sort of Michael Thomas type of receiver, and then aside from that, they took a basketball player in the 7th round, which I absolutely love. He's 6'9", has 4 career catches, but the Denver Broncos, man, after the first round, kind of a disappointing draft, so we'll put them in that B tier with the Bills, Bears, Cowboys, and now the Broncos. I think that that's fair for the Denver Broncos. Moving on to the Detroit Lions. I have not heard much about their picks. Tyleik Williams seemed to not be a pick that Lions fans love. Tate Ratledge, I thought it was a fantastic pick. Isaac Tesla has awesome film, but is he really going to translate to the NFL? It's yet to be seen. I thought they had one of the better day 3s of any team, and so does NFL.com. However, their day 2 and day 1 were not really very good. Not really very good. Did that make sense? I don't know, but the Lions are going to be now the lowest team in the draft at a C grade. I think it was fine. Nothing spectacular. I'd say you passed, but could have done better. That's why you're a C. As for the Green Bay Packers, NFL.com gives them an A- draft. Matthew Golden, I think, is a good pick. I'd say that he's in that tier with like a Jalen Waddle type of potential. High-end wide receiver 2. I don't know if I see him as a wide receiver 1. Again, I'm not a GM. This is just my opinion. He can totally prove me wrong. I haven't spent hours and hours and hours upon watching Matthew Golden, so I could be 100% wrong here just from what I've seen. I'm not sure I see Tyreek Hill. I see more Jalen Waddle than Tyreek Hill. But still an awesome pick for the Packers. They needed that receiver. Anthony Belton was a good pick, and the rest of their pick apparently seems to be good on day 3. So we'll give the Packers a nice little B there. Throw them in there with those teams, I think is completely fair. Moving on to the Houston Texans. They got a buttload of good players. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Jalen Smith, Jalen Reed. They went crazy with the Jalens, and as they should, because with all those Jalens, they get to move up all the way to a B. Oh no, that's a D minus. Put them in B plus. I think that is totally fair for the Texans. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Wow, what kind of picks are those? I don't know. They just traded for Christian Kirk. Maybe they're a little confused at the position, or they are self-aware and know that these players are injury prone, and they are not going to let happen what happened last season when all the receivers went down and CJ Stroud had no help. However, that O-line is going to be not great. They got one tackle, and that is not going to fix their offensive line. A little bit worried for CJ Stroud, but at least he has wide receivers. Indianapolis Colts. All right. Let's look at this draft. They got Tyler Warren, great pick, great value pick. JT Tuamalu, fantastic pick. Justin Whaley, good pick. Jalen Travis, solid. Riley Leonard, that's a fun pick. All across the board, I think that you'd give each of their days about an A grade, and that's where the Colts are going to fall right there about an... I can't do it. They didn't have a better draft. They didn't have as good of a draft as the Falcons and Panthers, in my opinion. I'll put them in B plus, though. I think that it's fair to say that the Texans and the Browns had a similar draft to the Colts. The Colts may not have. Damn, I'm stuttering all over the place. The Colts may not have had as many big name players in their draft, but those first 2 players, if you don't know them, you're gonna know them next season, and they did get a lot of good depth in this draft. Moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars fans, look out, because I'm going to give y'all a bad grade. Yeah. This one was rough. Travis Hunter, that's a good pick. Aside from that, they didn't do too much as far as players that I know. Maybe I don't know ball. Let me know if I don't know ball. But Jaguars, I'll give you a B minus. You traded a lot to get Travis Hunter for someone that's a little bit unseen. Could be generational, though. I love Travis Hunter. Already bought his jersey. It's coming. I'm buying his jersey. I didn't buy his jersey. I don't think it's available yet. But as soon as it's available, I'm buying a Travis Hunter jersey. So I love him. But aside from the rest of their picks, a little bit lackluster. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my gosh. They got Josh Simmons in the first round. They got Jeffrey Bassa in the 5th round. They got Jalen Royals. Oh my gosh. And Omar Norman-Lott. Great picks. Overall, the Kansas City Chiefs smashed this draft, especially where you consider where they were picking from. They had an A-tier draft. Once again, the Chiefs just know how to draft. If you're a bad team, you got to just throw money at the Chiefs GM and pray that they come to you, because he always knows what he's doing. Moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders, let's go ahead and see what draft grade I would give them. They got Ashton Genty, Jack Beck, Darian Porter, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, and a buttload of other players. I think they had one of the better drafts of the entire NFL. They had a great draft. I loved their first 3 picks there. Hard to miss on Ashton Genty, and they just overall, they had a good draft. They did what they were supposed to. They filled positions of need, and overall, they didn't have a Clinton Farrell pick. They didn't have a Tyree Wilson pick. They didn't have a Jamarcus Russell pick. They did not have a Damon Art, or you know who I'm talking about, that cornerback that they took. They didn't have Damon Arnett. That's who it is, Damon Arnett. They didn't have one of those picks in this draft, so just that alone gives them an A. Moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's see what grade I'd give them. So they took Amarian Hampton, Trey Harris. They got Kyle Kennard. They got R.J. Mickens in the 6th round. That's a crazy pull right there. R.J. Mickens. I love Trey Harris. Super underrated wide receiver. I don't love the Amarian Hampton pick, though. I don't think the Chargers exactly smashed this draft. Amarian Hampton, to me, should have been a day 2 prospect, and they took him in the 1st round. So with that being said, I'm putting the Chargers in a B minus. Moving on to the Los Angeles Rams, who passed on Shedeur Sanders as many times as someone can pass on a quarterback, and instead refused to go quarterback, but they did get Chris Paul. No, not Chris Paul. They got Chris Paul Jr., unrelated to Chris Paul as far as I know, but they also got Terrence Ferguson. What a reach in the 2nd round. Josiah Stewart, fine. Jarquez Hunter seems to be a good prospect, but oh man, I did not love the Rams draft day. Days 2, 3, and 1. Oh, well, day 1 was good. The trade they made to get extra picks, fine. Good pick, or good to get picks because your guy was gone, Jackson Dart was gone. But aside from that, they didn't draft anybody really of value. I'm putting the Rams in D tier. I don't really love any of their picks aside from their running back that they took. So the Rams are getting a D for their 2025 NFL draft. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, they took Kenneth Grant, Jonah Savania. Somebody help me out with that. Jordan Phillips. Was that not already a Dolphin at some point? Jason Marshall Jr. They got Ollie Gordon. They took Quinn Ewers. I didn't even know they took Quinn Ewers. And they got Zeke from Texas Tech. The Dolphins, just off thinking about it, like Kenneth Grant, that was a fine first-round pick. I think it was a bit of a reach. Seems like they had a good day 2. And according to the NFL, they had an A-plus day 3, but I don't see it there. Ollie Gordon, not a good running back. Quinn Ewers, not a good quarterback. Zeke, I'm not too familiar with. He must be solid, but I can't give the Dolphins any higher than a C+. I think Kenneth Grant's a good pick, and then aside from that, they kind of fell off. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, they took Donovan Jackson. Crazy pick. Tay Felton, great pick. Tay Felton is going to be fantastic with them, but the rest of their picks, what are the Vikings doing? I don't know. Only 5 picks. There's only so much you can do, but I did not love their draft, so with that being said, they're going to have to be a C-. That first-round pick was atrocious. At least in the first round. Good player, but first round? Okay. Moving on to the New England Patriots. Not to be biased here, let's block out the helmet here. They had an A-plus draft. I don't even know why I'm looking at this. I know all the picks. Will Campbell, fantastic. Travion Henderson, fantastic. Kyle Williams, fantastic. Got the stamp of approval from Steve Smith. Jared Wilson seems to be one of the most athletic offensive linemen in the league, or in NCAA. Craig Woodson seems to be a good safety according to everybody that goes to Cal. Joshua Farmer, dog. Braden Swinson, fantastic edge it seems. He seems to be hyped up. I'm more familiar with the Patriots picks. I'm sorry, because I, of course, am following them. I follow their guys very deeply. Already followed all of them on Instagram. Have done all my highlight research. Watched all of those picks multiple times to get a feel for how I felt about them. And they just crushed this draft. They crushed it. I can't believe NFL.com's giving them only a B+. The New England Patriots deserve an A+. They crushed this draft. We're going to look back at this one in 5 years and be like, wow, the Patriots did not miss on every single pick. Everybody's going to be great. Everybody's going to be great. I don't care. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints, who took Kelvin Banks Jr. and Tyler Shough. Okay, Kelvin Banks at 9 is a crazy reach, but I know they needed a tackle. Tyler Shough, what a weird take. I like Devin Neal in round 6, but the Saints, they might have had, yeah. I'll put them in D+. They didn't have as bad of a draft as the Rams, but they kind of did. Should have took Shedeur. I'm sorry. I don't like the Tyler Shough pick at all. The New York Giants, they took Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, Darius Alexander, Cam Scatterbo. They had a lot of good players, a enormous amount of good players. The New York Giants deserve an A+ for their draft. They didn't have to give up too much to get the quarterback of their future. I don't love Jackson Dart as a prospect, but when you don't have to even give up a future first for who you think is your franchise quarterback, great job. You got Abdul Carter, you got Cam, who could potentially, who he believes he's the best running back in the NCAA. We'll see if it was true or not. Moving on to the New York Jets. They got Armin Membu, Mason Taylor, great pick. Arian Smith, Malachi Moore. They got a couple players. I actually like their first round pick. I would have gone Tet maybe for the Jets. I know I kind of pooped on him, but I think he would work better with the Jets than the Panthers. He's a better wide receiver 2 than wide receiver 1, obviously. So the New York Jets, Armin Membu, maybe a bit of a reach, but overall, solid draft. Mason Taylor, good pick. I'd give the New York Jets a B- for their 2025 NFL draft. Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, who got Jahad Campbell in the first round. They got Andrew Makuba. They got Drew Kendall. They got Kyle McCord. Couple of good players there. I thought overall they had a solid draft. The Philadelphia Eagles, to me, deserve to be in that B tier. They got Jahad Campbell, which was an awesome pick. Based on where they're actually picking, I'd put them at B+, because they have the least value. Hypothetically, they have the worst value at each round because they're at the bottom, and they still did better than many other NFL teams. So with that being said, the Eagles deserve a B+ grade. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, another Pennsylvania team. They took Derek Harmon, Caleb Johnson, Jack Sawyer, Yaya Black. Seems like they went for a lot of names over maybe production. Yaya Black is someone I actually wanted as on the Patriots, so I'm not mad at that. Jack Sawyer, I'm sorry to the Ohio State fans. You're lucky that he was even taken in the 4th round. I thought that was for sure going to be the Shador pick. Caleb Johnson, fantastic pick. Probably would have been taken over RJ Harvey if I'm being honest with you. Derek Harmon, bit of a reach, but great kid, great story, and is a good player. They just drafted a lot of D linemen, though, when I feel that was maybe not the biggest position in need. Still a need, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, I will put in B tier or B minus. Did they get a B or B minus grade? Yeah, I'm putting them in B minus. Pittsburgh Steelers 2025 draft, a B minus. Moving on to the San Francisco 49ers. Let's see who we got. Wow, a lot of players. They got Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, a bunch of other players. Curtis Rourke. They got Junior Bergen, Jordan James, Jordan Watkins. Jordan Watkins just sounds like a dog. Let's see. The 49ers, they got one of the best edge rushers in the draft, and other than that, they kind of were middle of the road. So middle of the road is a little bit unfair. I'd say above average. We'll give the 49ers a B. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks. Let's go ahead and see who they got. They got Gray Zabel, awesome first-round pick. Nick Amenuari, fantastic second-round pick. They got Elijah Arroyo, great pick. Jalen Milroe, great pick. Torrey Horton, what a pick. Ricky White, awesome. Mason Richmond, and they got a potential good running back in Damian Martinez. Not that they need one, but yeah, the Seahawks smashed this draft. I think they absolutely deserve to be in that A-plus tier. The Seahawks really didn't miss. They got a potential quarterback of the future to replace Sam Darnold. I love the Nick Amenuari pick. They got a good tight end to hopefully be their starter one day, and they got Gray Zabel, the most versatile O-line in the entire draft. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I know they got Emeka. They also signed Shiloh Sanders in the undrafted free agency department, but they also drafted Jacob Parrish and Benjamin Morrison. I can't believe they were able to get both of those guys. For how few picks the Buccaneers had, they absolutely crushed it. Give the Buccaneers a tier draft. I loved the Emeka pick, by the way. If you're pooping on that pick, you're wrong. I'm sorry. How are teams going to guard Emeka with their cornerback 3? Good luck. Just good luck, NFC South. Good luck. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans. They got Cam Ward. They got Oladapo from UCLA. They got Gunnar Helm. They got Alec Ayumanor, who absolutely is going to be a showstopper against Travis Hunter. Very excited for that. Honestly, Titans fans, you're going to have to let me know. I'm not too familiar with the rest of their picks aside from Cam Ward and Alec out of Stanford. So with that being said, we'll give the Titans a B+ because I actually am not... I love the Cam Ward pick, and that's really all I can go off of. The final grade for the Washington Commanders, the last team, might have been the team with the fewest amount of picks. Josh Cornerly, Trey Amos, Jalen Lane, and a couple other players. Why are they giving the Commanders a C+ for day one? Josh Cornerly is a fantastic pick. Trey Amos is a good pick, and then they did good on day 3. I like the Commanders draft. Not the best draft, but with that being said, I'd give the Commanders a B for the 2025 NFL draft. So these are my 2025 grades for the NFL draft. Of course, I'm not an expert. This is just my opinion. Could 100% be wrong on all this, but it's just fun to look back in a couple years. So I suggest go to tiermaker.com. This isn't sponsored, but go to tiermaker.com and do your own. Save it to a Google Drive or a Microsoft Drive, whatever you save your drives on, and let me know your grades. Send me them. DM me on Instagram. Do whatever you want. Send me your grades. I'm interested to see what you got, and keep it for yourself. You'll get to see in a couple years how right you are, how wrong you are. See if you actually know ball. No ball. We all don't know ball. Let's just be real. Let's all be real. We don't know ball. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you're happy with your team's grade. If you're a Rams fan, I'm sorry.